Good evening, I'm Mary Garafello, and welcome to 16 by 9, The Bigger Picture. It's called phone phreaking, and it's happening to a lot of innocent people across the country. 16 by 9 exposes an underground network of hackers who are illegally gaining access to your phone and computer and wreaking havoc. Our Lisa Hefner tonight with her investigation.
There was over $60,000 worth of calls placed on our lines.
I almost fell off my chair when I saw the bill for $99,000.
A bill for almost $250,000 on it from Bell.
These are all victims of a scam that has become an epidemic, a potentially deadly epidemic for small businesses. Take the word phone, add phreak, and you get this, phreaking. And freaky it is. Someone hacks into your voicemail and uses your telephone account to rack up huge long-distance charges.
Phone phreaking, it's a broad term. The Reader's Digest version is simply people curious about the phone system, how it works, and they'll play around and hit buttons just to see what happens. They're pushing this technology to its limit.
Ed Pisker is a comic book author and self-proclaimed phone phreak fanatic. He says phreaking has a cult following and his characters reflect the scammer. They cheat, con, and trespass to get direct access to phone information. This is how they do it.
One of the oldest methods of phone phreaking is what's known as red boxing. If you dropped a nickel into the telephone, you would hear a simple beep like that. If you dropped a dime in, 2 beeps, and a quarter would be 5 rapid pulses. Some genius figured out that if you record those sounds and you play them back into the microphone part of the telephone, it tricks the whole system into thinking that you dropped some money in and you could get your free phone call.
Phreaking, he says, started off as fun, but now it has become fraud. Julie Smithers from Bell Canada says it's gotten bigger than phone booths. It's now corporate crime.
Essentially how it works is that experienced fraudsters, like the one in this situation, would attempt several times to gain access to a company's, or consumers, but generally a company's voicemail system by using an automated system to test the various lines using a number of different passwords. Usually they try out generic ones such as 1234, 1111.
It's a huge expense, obviously $150,000 for 2 months of phone.
It happened to John Chassels, who owns a computer company in Toronto, and he has no idea how.
I figured out on the first day there was actually a total of 840 minutes, 14 hours, that the phones were compromised.
His bill details long calls made virtually every minute to numbers in Bulgaria and Sierra Leone, but his company only has 4 phone lines.
The way I understand it is somebody calls in, picks up an outgoing line. Well, that's 2 lines, so you can really only ever make, I thought you could only ever make 2 phone calls.
It happened to Gord Cowan, who owns a small business in Oakville. He got a $60,000 phone bill. He alerted all his contacts and is astounded at the extent of the problem just over the past couple months.
We're in excess of $600,000 with just 7 companies. We've asked Bell many times and they kept saying it's a rare situation. And we believe with just 7 people that have, these 7 companies have come forward, 700,000, we got to believe that it's in the millions of dollars, if not tens of millions of dollars.
But the worst part of this story isn't the scam, it's what the phone company is doing, or rather not doing.
Under our terms of service, customers are responsible for any calls that are made on their system.
You heard her right. Bell says it is not responsible for these calls, and if customers don't pay up, their phones will be cut off.
It's inconceivable that they would expect me to pay even.
Those terms of service were also Bell's defense in a 2005 CRTC decision aimed at protecting consumers from modem hijacking, which is virtually the same as voicemail hijacking. The decision is largely in Bell's favor, but the company was told to make customers aware of the risk, continue tracking complaints, and implement technical solutions.
We do have technologies in place that are continuously monitoring our system for suspicious activity, and in many cases able to alert the customers and block the long distance calls on their system. If those frauds do occur, if that scam does occur, the customers are responsible for it.
The technologies are clearly insufficient. Bell's fraud team didn't contact Gord Cowan until after $60,000 worth of calls were made.
They said the problem lies with Bell's technology, which is not 100% secure, and they're continuing to work on that.
Nor did they contact Burlington law firm Martin and Hillier until after more than $220,000 in calls were made.
There's some other third party who has started this whole process, and we unfortunately are the conduit. But the phone calls never started. They never originated from our property, so I don't know how they could possibly expect us to pay. If you're going to go after somebody, go after the fraudsters.
I can't withdraw more than $500 out of my bank account in any one day. You know, I have no problem. And if they put a limit like that on my phone bill, I'd say fine. At least you'd know.
Telecommunications consultant Roberta Fox says Bell's system only kicks in when the amount of unusual activity is high. With millions of customers, it would be expensive to monitor everyone's phone line.
The triggers are set for higher dollar values. So the challenge would be for the carriers to set the trigger to a lower dollar value to catch, since there's, depending on your numbers, 1.5 to 2 million small businesses, they'd have to be monitoring every small business. But it's increasing, so it behooves us as customers to say, you should be taking care of this for us.
But Bell maintains that customers have to protect themselves by changing passcodes often, making passcodes longer, and choosing numbers that are difficult to guess. But Donna Allison chose random numbers for her home voicemail system, and she still got a phone bill more than $200 higher than expected.
Rwanda, which I didn't even know. I couldn't pronounce the word. I had called Bell and they told me.
Fraudsters can use the phone lines to rack up long-distance minutes. They can then sell. They can route calls to 1-900 numbers. They can make untraceable calls to set up illegal activity like drug deals. They can even set up fake international phone companies and then charge Bell for the calls they made. Bad guys can perpetrate this fraud from anywhere in the world, and catching them is almost impossible.
It takes a combination of the regulators, the CRTC, the police, and the international police systems working together, and the telephone companies working together.
Can you imagine the national security implications of, somebody in other countries across the sea hacking into our phone networks? That's so scary.
Bell reduced Gord Cowan's bill from $60,000 to $7,000. What it says is the lowest possible long-distance rate, but Cowan has been told he'll be fully liable if this ever happens again.
$7,000 is $7,000, but to be held accountable for all future breaches could be $100,000, $200,000. No small business in Canada could ever absorb that kind of money. So our question to Bell is, what do we do?